Good morning and welcome to It's How You'll Be Remembered. I am Julie Jones, your host and the CEO of Today's Professionals. And today we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is business coaching, especially for residential service companies. You may know my story of how in 2011 I went to become certified as an etiquette consultant, and in 2013 I left education to help people with soft skills. But what you may not know is that I took a little side gig in between and started Texas Green Plumbing. I was actually married to Roger Wakefield. You may know him now as the America's favorite plumber and an advocate for the trades and definitely an influencer. He's also known as the intensive influencer. And I love that title for him because he's probably the most intense person I've ever met. But back into the day when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to be when we grew up, he had been in plumbing forever and was working in the construction industry. He was the director of operations for a large mechanical contractor. He ran big jobs here in the Dallas area. And he came home one day and was like, look, I'm just not happy. I'm not fulfilled. So he had a dream in his heart. And so he quit his job on a Friday, and on a Monday, we opened Texas Green Plumbing. At the time, I thought I was taking a side gig. I was like, okay, I'm going to step aside from my etiquette business and I'm going to help him grow this plumbing company. It was kind of all hands on deck back then. And so we linked arms together and I figured out how to run the back end, and he was running himself crazy and trying to do it all in the field. And we realized very quickly that we had worked ourselves into a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week job. And we were stressed out and we just didn't have what it took to really move this company forward. And so today I want to talk about that. So if you are catching this live, please be sure and comment and say hello to me. You may know this story. Some of you may have walked alongside us as we grew this company, but I have a very exciting announcement at the end of this. So be sure and stay tuned until the end. And so we began to learn about systems and processes. We read the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And that changed the way we started thinking about things. We joined a best practices organization to help us get tools and processes in place. We started learning about marketing and in particular video. Roger was an instructor, had been an instructor for years in the union, the local 100 here, and he loves to teach. And so he started making videos on how to plumb, how to be a good plumber. And we started sharing stories about what we were learning about being an entrepreneur. And then we started hearing about all the job openings in trades and how many of the older tradespeople were retiring, and then we're not replacing them. And so then we grew during those years, in 7 years, and we ended up selling the company because I became really good at coaching and I became really good at really wanting to develop people. Again, that business etiquette grew into much more than just etiquette. It was really, we learned that as we hired people, we had to hire for culture and we could train the skill. And then we learned too that the image, that we had to teach people what it looked like to represent us in the field. So we had to figure out what kind of uniforms we wanted and how we wanted people to greet our customers. I pulled in all of the etiquette training that I had before and taught people how to be a good guest in someone's home. Even though we're there as an expertise and they've called us out, what does that mean? We're still a guest. And so what is the image? What does that mean? And so all of it came together as we learned about running and operating a business, and we became really experts in our field. I went on to coach after we sold our company. I went on to coach plumbing companies, and Roger, of course, became Roger Wakefield, the brand of, the trade influencer, and teaching people how to be great entrepreneurs. And so that was, really fun, and we really have learned so much. And so a couple of months ago, Roger and I, of course, came back together, and we started talking about how great it would be if we could take what we've learned over the last 10 years or so and help other people avoid the pitfalls that we did. And so we teamed up again. And we have come together to create a company that actually coaches people on the important aspects of running and operating a business, how to grow and scale it, and then how to market it, how to use social media to grow your company. And now, if you know him, if you know Roger, then you may be thinking, well, Julie, Roger started YouTube and he grew it really fast, but it became a full-time job for him. And my answer to that is, you're right. He did, because he absolutely loved it, because teaching was his passion. He loves to talk about plumbing. He loves to learn. He loves to grow. He's learned a lot about image. He's learned a lot about growing a company and what it's like to become a field service person into a management person, into an entrepreneur, and now CEO. I mean, he's learned so much, as have I. I've done the same thing. We've come a long way. But you don't have to create a full-time business to market your company on social media. There are ways that you can do it effectively without it becoming a full-time business, but that's just what he wanted to do. And so we actually have had plumbers work for us that have watched him, and they now make videos. They now have become influencers and have their own companies and have grown. And that makes us both so proud, that we were able to take someone in and teach them and grow them into plumbers that are now entrepreneurs. And, a couple of weeks ago, I did a Fox News radio tour on how AI is taking a lot of the entry-level jobs, and how a lot of our Gen Zs are coming out of college, and they are finding that the jobs that they are interviewing for at their level of experience and where they are in their career either don't pay enough for them to make a living and to cover their student loan debt, or they're finding that those jobs are being taken by AI bots. And so they're now needing another degree, or they're needing some more experience in order to get into the fields that they want. And so they're becoming disgruntled, and they're feeling, just kind of down about the job market, and they're not hopeful about their future. And so what I'm saying to the Gen Zs is, have you considered the fields that AI can't take over? Like trades. A lot of people now want to use their brains to solve problems, and a lot of people are really good with people, and they're like, how can I help and serve people? And the trades make a great career opportunity. So it's a great way to help our young professionals come into a field, learn a skill, learn all about business, and then eventually, even if they want to, they can either start their own business, or they can grow with you, and they can learn to run your business so that you as an entrepreneur can step back. I mean, how many of you that may be listening here today can relate to, I have a 24-hour-a-day job. It's 7 days a week, and I lay awake at night. I'm not sleeping. I'm stressed all the time. My body is beginning to feel the effects of stress. There's stress on my relationships. And oh my goodness, I thought it would be so different to start my own business. And I'm telling you, Roger and I have been there. We know what it was like to open that business. And so some of the things that you might be thinking about is that you might be thinking, how do I get out of the field? Maybe you are that person that started your company and you just want the hands-on and everybody wants to do business with you. And so you're thinking, I need to get out of the truck and get out of the field so that I can do things that a CEO needs to do. Maybe you need to learn how to be a CEO. Maybe you need to improve your leadership skills. That's one thing that is hard to do. It's very difficult for somebody who starts a business and this is your baby and you've developed all of the relationships and now you want to get out of the truck and you want to start running your company. And so you just don't know how. Like you're here and you want to be here and you got to figure out how to bridge that gap. We've done it. We did that. And it's not easy, but there are ways to do it. Maybe you haven't really thought about how do I keep track of the calls that I've run? How do I know what money I'm bringing in? How do I know if I'm profitable? Am I even priced right? How do I go in and make sure that my clients that I'm visiting, how do I know that they're going to want me to do the repair? And how do I avoid all of the objections that they might have? How do I cover pricing? How do I explain to them what's happening and what my suggestions are to them without them thinking that I'm trying to rip them off? How do I do that? Well, there are ways to do that. We teach you how to develop relationships and how to have conversations. We teach you how to look at your financial statements and see where there are areas for improvement. There's only one way really to make sure you are profitable, and that is to increase your revenue and decrease your expenses, and or a combination of those. And so how do you do that effectively and systematically so that you are successful? And so these are all pain points that we used to lay in bed at night and go, how do we do this? How do I answer the phone? How do I find somebody that answers the phone when I'm not available to answer the phone? How do I do that? How do I train people to do that for me? How do I call people back that called and asked for estimates and maybe didn't like my answer? And how do I follow up with them? And how do I have systems and processes and all that? These are all questions that keep entrepreneurs awake at night. But there are so many opportunities in this field, in this area. And so Roger and I both have hearts for service, and we definitely want to help people. And so we have decided to do this. And so if you are listening to this right now and you want to know more, you want to say, hey, I want to know what you've got going on, comment me here or reach out to either one of us. We'll be happy to send you some information about what we're doing. I mean, it's really exciting because I have missed working in the trades and I have missed working with the business owners that are struggling and laying awake at night, because I also bring to the table my whole Ziegler coaching team and my Ziegler coaching training and all of my etiquette and all of the image and all of the soft skill training that comes with teaching people how to represent you as a brand and how to grow people into their careers. It is a great feeling to know that you're impacting lives of people in your community, that you're helping people put food on their tables, and you're creating a culture where you are serving the community. It is the best feeling in the world. And so I encourage you, if you are even thinking about opening a business, you're like, I don't even know if I want to, reach out to us because we want to talk to you. We want to see where you are, and we want to see if this is something that we can help you with. We know we can't help everybody, but we want to make sure that we talk to everyone who has an interest. So I look forward to hearing from you soon, and stay tuned to find out more about Residential Service Group. We'll be launching in a few weeks, and I look forward to talking with you then.